so unworthy, or you learn how a king can hate. Your answer?" Bertram bowed low and said, "Your Majesty has ennobled the lady by your interest in her. I submit." "Take her by the hand," said the king, "and tell her she is yours." Bertram obeyed, and with little delay he was married to Helena. Fear of the king, however, couldn't make him a lover. Ridicule helped to sour him. A base soldier named Parolles told him to his face that now he had a kiki-wiki, his business wasn't to fight, but to stay at home. Kiki-wiki was only a silly nickname for a wife, but it made Bertram feel he couldn't bear having a wife, and that he must go to war in Italy, though the king had forbidden him. Helena he ordered to take leave of the king and return to Roussillon, giving her letters for his mother and herself. He then rode off, bidding her a cold goodbye. "When you can get the ring from my finger, you can call me husband, but against that I will write never." Dry-eyed Helena had been when she entered the king's presence and said farewell, but he was uneasy on her account and gave her a ring from his own finger, saying, "If you send this one to me, I shall know you are in trouble and help you." She didn't show him Bertram's letter to his wife. It would have made him wish to kill the truant count. But she went back to Roussillon and handed her mother-in-law the second letter. It was short and bitter. "I've run away," it said. "If the world be broad enough, I will be always far away from her." "Cheer up," said the noble widow to the deserted wife. "I wash his name out of my blood, and you alone are my child." The dowager countess, however, was still mother enough to Bertram to lay the blame of his conduct on Parolles, whom she called a very tainted fellow. Helena didn't stay long at Roussillon. She clad herself as a pilgrim, and, leaving a letter for her mother-in-law, secretly set out for Florence. On entering that city, she inquired of a woman the way to the pilgrim's house of rest, but the woman begged the holy pilgrim to lodge with her. Helena found that her hostess was a widow who had a beautiful daughter named Diana. When Diana heard that Helena came from France, she said a countryman of yours, Count Roussillon, had done worthy service for Florence. But after a time, Diana had something to tell which wasn't at all worthy of Helena's husband. Bertram was making love to Diana. He didn't hide the fact that he was married, but Diana heard from Parolles that his wife wasn't worth caring for. The widow was anxious for Diana's sake, and Helena decided to inform her that she was the Countess Roussillon. "He keeps asking Diana for a lock of her hair," said the widow. Helena smiled mournfully, for her hair was as fine as Diana's, and of the same color. Then an idea struck her, and she said, "Take this purse of gold for yourself. I will give Diana 3,000 crowns if she will help me to carry out this plan. Let her promise to give a lock of her hair to my husband if he will give her the ring which he wears on his finger. It is an ancestral ring. 5 counts of Roussillon have worn it, yet he will yield it up for a lock of your daughter's hair. Let your daughter insist that he shall cut the lock of her hair in a dark room, and agree in advance that she shall not speak a single word." The widow listened attentively, with the purse of gold in her lap. She said at last, "I consent if Diana is willing." Diana was willing, and, strange to say, the prospect of cutting off a lock of hair from a silent girl in a dark room was so pleasing to Bertram that he handed Diana his ring and was told when to follow her into the dark room. At the time appointed, he came with a sharp knife and felt a sweet face touch his as he cut off the lock of hair, and he left the room satisfied, like a man who's filled with renown, and on his finger was a ring which the girl in the dark room had given him. The war was nearly over, but one of its concluding chapters taught Bertram that the soldier who'd been imprudent enough to call Helena his kiki-wiki was far less courageous than a wife. Parolles was such a boaster and so fond of trimmings to his clothes that the French officers played him a trick to discover what he really was made of.